Let's keep that question.
Because from what I understand with,
Hand up.
Keep that question, remember that question, and then ask, let's just fly through these slides so we can get this done.
Very well.
I went on the International Association of Chiefs of Police website to get the law enforcement oath of honor, and then this is what I got. Right? So, if the activity on the planet would let us, they would show the activity by their actions. Them doing something like this is a hooray thing. It means that people are out there doing their job. People are getting the information out to the people, and people are actually flooding these guys' websites, trying to get this thing down, trying to download this, and they had to say, okay, you know what, we can't even have this on the website anymore. Put this up. But this is what it really is. Right? So the law enforcement oath of honor, on my honor, I would never betray my badge, my integrity, my character, or the public trust, just like you were saying, right? Public servants, right? I will always have courage to hold myself and others accountable for our actions, right? So it is not an individual thing. Holding yourself responsible across the board. If one guy sees one guy doing something messed up, he has to call him out on what he's doing that's messed up, right? And they're not doing that. That's why they took it down. I will always uphold the Constitution. It doesn't say the Constitution Act of Canada. It doesn't say the Criminal Code. It doesn't say some statutory code. It says the Constitution, because they know what the Constitution is. And they have an obligation to uphold it. And just like I was saying with the information that's passed, even if they take this off the website, they still have to uphold this. Not because they took it down means that it has no power anymore, or it doesn't exist. It still exists, and will always exist once they have their job.
Can you get a copy of that?
Right? What I would suggest you do is you can
Email
you
you.
can call, you
Yeah, or
can
put an
actually
email list up,
contact
put an email
them,
list around.
International Association of Chiefs of Police, through their website. Because the website's still up. It's just the part to get this is down. Right? So you can do that, or you could have a list and you could just leave your email address and then we'll send it out to you.
Okay.
Right?
Thank you.
Also too, United States codes of law, which is similar to the criminal code. So since Canada is connected to the United States, then we need to utilize all these things that they have on that side of the border that we think had never had anything to do with us on this side. So one of the things is the United States Code of Law. And United States Code of Law, Title 18, deprivation of rights under color of law. Whoever under color of law, statute, ordinance, regulation, or custom willfully subjects any inhabitants of any state, territory, or district to the deprivation of any rights, privileges, or immunities secured or protected by the Constitution or laws of the United States, or to different punishments, pains, and penalties on account of such inhabitant being an alien or by reason of his color or race than are prescribed for the punishment of citizens shall be fined not more than $1,000 or imprisoned not more than 1 year or both. And if bodily injury results, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned for not more than 10 years or both. And if death results, shall be subject to imprisonment for any term of years or for life. Also keep in mind that the only law enforcement officer is the sheriff. And we have sheriffs in this jurisdiction. And the sheriff's office is 393 University Avenue, 19th floor, Toronto, Ontario. So that's where the sheriff's office is. The sheriff has now been subjugated to giving people eviction notices and little foolishness, opposed to being out here among the common people, right? And also too, sheriff comes from Arabic sharif, S-H-A-R-I-F. And the individual we were talking about, Noble Drew Ali, his free name is Sharif Abdul Ali. And his name is Sharif because he's the one that has the authority, and Sharif comes from Sheriff. Right? Or Sheriff comes from Sharif. Right? Criminal Code of Canada. This is for the brother in the back that we were talking about earlier. Criminal Code of Canada is a law that codifies most criminal offenses and procedures in Canada. Its official long title is an act respecting criminal law. So it's an act. They say that it's an act. So if it's an act, that means it's for us to use to govern them. It's not for us to say, well, yeah, we have, the criminal code says, and then we. The criminal code is for us to let them know, right, their obligation. Say that again? To keep them in check. Just like the Constitution, right? It's to keep them in check. Section 15 on criminal code sections that you should know to keep in mind. Section 15, obedience to de facto law. No person shall be convicted of an offense in respect to an act or omission in obedience to the laws for the time being made and enforced by persons in a de facto possession of sovereign power in and over the place where the act or omission occurs. Section 122, breach of trust by public officer. Section 336, criminal breach of trust. So section 15, section 122, section 336. Section 123, municipal corruption. Section 128, misconduct of officers executed in process. Section 332, theft. Section 337, public servant refusing to deliver property. Section 341, fraudulent concealment. So fraudulent concealment would be, you know how peace officers have that jacket, and then sometimes they have the zipper on the side so their gun is showing. If they have that jacket on and that zipper's down, section 341, fraudulent concealment. Because their zipper's supposed to be up all the time so you can know that they're armed. Right? And they're supposed to be, if they come to your car and want to give you a ticket and they're not wearing their hat, or if they're out of their uniform in any type of way, shape, or form, they're in violation.
Of section 341.
That's section 361, false pretenses. Section 123, municipal corruption. Section 122, breach of trust. Right, so section 380, fraud. Section 385, fraudulent concealment of title documents. 422, criminal breach of contract. Section 423, intimidation. Section 429, willfully causing event to occur. Section 429.2, color of right. Section 463, attempts and accessories. And section 465, conspiracy. The main ones that I would say that we use is section 122, section 336, section 346, section 380. So one thing too, there's no statute of limitation on fraud. So if you're going to call them out on anything, always call them on fraud first. Always call them on fraud first. And then subtitle all the other violations under fraud.
And again, you're reading this from?
This is sections of the criminal code of Canada.
Okay.
And then section 465, conspiracy. So remember that there's two persons at law. Artificial person, or the corporate person, which is the all capital letters person. And then there's the actual natural person, or the Moor, or the indigenous person. Driver's license is a proof of contract to stop your movement, or current, or energy, or money. The origin of the license comes from so-called slavery in America, when slaves were used for delivery services. The slave would get a job with the same expenses that the master would have to deliver to another master, plantation, or state. They would give the slave fiat script so it thinks it's getting paid and won't run away since it's getting paid. And then the license was used to regulate the movement of those scripts through the slave. And then if you go through the Christian black codes, you'll find out about that whole idea, right? Have you ever noticed that there are two different color license plates in Ontario for common people? Have you ever asked yourself why? Black plates represent the commerce, who's actually supposed to be having the license, and the blue plates are the fraudulent plates. And then you notice that all the common cars have blue plates, and all the buses, trucks, etc. that are engaged in commerce have the black plates. And also, anytime you have someone in your vehicle, car, conveyance, automobile, whatever you want to call it, if you have somebody that's with you, never call them a passenger, because passengers pay fares. That means you're engaging in commerce, which means you need a license. So always call them occupants.
Yes. Call them a guest?
Or guests. Alright? Tickets and summons are bills of exchange and suits. Don't call them tickets, call them suits or bills of exchange. Don't call them summons. By calling them summons and tickets, you're hiding their function and their meaning. Their function is that you're being sued by a private corporation for driving an artificial corporation. Bills of exchange must be satisfied upon their issuance. A lawsuit is a civil action brought in a court of law in which a plaintiff, a party who claims to have incurred loss of a right as a result of a defendant's actions, demands a legal or equitable remedy. And most times when you get tickets, it'll tell you on top of it the corporation of the city of Toronto, the corporation of the city of Mississauga, the corporation of the city of whoever, and just like the brother's letter, the person who's in charge of that is the city solicitor.
So how would you respond to that ticket? So much later.
The best way to respond to the ticket is, before they give it to you, ask them to give you
No, I would accept it. You don't want to.
what a peace officer does is takes the fraudulent de facto ID that they impose on you, goes back to his car, writes on the original but returns with the copy, the defendant's copy, which makes you the defendant, or in contract law, in dishonor. What a peace officer does is takes the fraudulent de facto ID that they impose on you, goes back to his car, writes on the original but returns with the copy, the defendant's copy, which makes you the defendant, or in contract law, in dishonor. When you go to court for the bill of exchange that we ignorantly call summons or ticket, we are already in dishonor because we didn't sign the original, the peace officer did. So when you deal with it, your claim is gonna be that it's improper service for the officer to give you a copy of a bill of exchange.
The thing is, you need to get that ticket back to them in 72 hours. You
Right.
become a holder of the court.
Right.
And liable on it.
Right, so
So
with the ticket, what you do is on the ticket, when you send it back, because the fact that you have the ticket, you're already in dishonor already. So you're gonna have to fight it in some kind of way.
Depends on the time limit.
But
It's 72 hours.
you have 72 hours, yes.
What
But
I
the
would
fact
do
that
is I would take a red pen and I would write across the top of it, new original ticket.
right,
And then diagonally, on a 45-degree angle, you're gonna write the date. If it's over 3 days, put a tonk. And then you're gonna put, void, no contract,
no
no
contract.
consent.
right.
And then
With the no contract, you could also utilize UCC 3-501.
Okay,
So UCC 3-501 is the UCC code for no contract.
right.
So UCC
And
3-501.
if you're gonna sign it above the police officer's signature, that makes him the underwriter, not you.
Right.
The underwriter's the one who's liable.
The last person.